What's up, guys? It's Rahul here, and I'm back from the Knoxville Regional Championships. My voice is a little bit shot. I don't know why. So bear with me a little bit. Sorry about the throat, voice, whatever. But I played Giratina. I finally played a real deck after listening to my teammates Isaiah and John, who have both been having tremendous success with Giratina VSTAR. So I decided, why not commit to the flowers for a little bit? Why not see what the flowers bring us, how the tournament's going to go, what's going to come of it? So I just locked in John's exact 60 from Charlotte. We didn't make any changes. We felt like the list was completely fine. Every game that, was winnable that way. The escape rope was like the debate. I guess I wanted to switch over the escape rope, and John think the escape rope won him games. I don't necessarily know if it won me or lost me any games throughout the day. I have to think about it a little bit more closely after I have some more time to reflect, or maybe I'll realize it through this report. But all in all, I did like those. I might have liked an extra energy throughout the day just because of some plagues I had with energy in the Lost Zone. But this is my first Tina. I guess not first. I played Tina when it came out in Lost Origin. But I also picked up the deck at 2 a.m. the day of the tournament, and turns out you can't flower select on that little sleep. So I finished 88th, as you guys can see. I did finish in day 2, so I broke my slump, which is a little bit of a good feeling because I have not slumped this hard in a long time. 3 tournaments in a row where I haven't really done anything. Middling results, kind of just bad across the board for my own confidence. This I did make day 2, but things didn't go the way I wanted to, which does hurt confidence as well. But we're gonna just jump into it. Confidence is a big thing in Pokemon, and I think I definitely go on the momentum sometimes and play much better if I have a high momentum or versus otherwise. So here is my tournament. Round 1. As Jishan would say, no easy buckets. So I hit Makani Tran, who has finished top 8 and ninth respectively at the last couple of regionals with his Arc Gigas deck. This deck has been on a tear. He's been absolutely dominating the metagame with it. A pretty insane deck that he's bringing up into me. Game 1, Makani starts putting down V-Guards, and the game starts quickly spiraling out of control, I think. I end up having to make a decision to Lost Zone either a grass or a psychic based on the 280 I'm doing, which then I know I'm going to get Iono'd, and I have a chance to win if I find boss plus gate, but my deck was pretty thin, and I did end up taking the grass out of the prizes and not the psychic. I just took a gamble on that. I think it was literally just a 50-50, whatever happens there, because I still had one more attack available to me through all of this, if I could do this way, and I ended up doing it. I ended up just basically losing because of that, because I was one attack short of winning. I did find the boss in gate off the Iono, which is pretty funny. So I lose game 1. Game 2, I pretty much set up perfectly, and I get to go attack. I get to go pound for pound with Makani's Arceuses, and I win the game. Game 3, I end up going second. I missed the turn 1 Cram attack, but I get to go Abyss Seeking, and I do in fact put down a path. So it's going to make it more tough for Makani to play the game, but he does find the Vacuum Iono before he even Arceus V-Stars. Gets the Arceus V-Star off, sets up a barrel that turn, sets up another Gigas on his bench, gets it nice and loaded up. Basically, we just go pound for pound back and forth, but the game effectively ends when I can't really knock anything else out. Towards the end of the game, I have a Sableye play I can make, but he ends up going and finding the Jirachi, and the game pretty much gets locked up at that point. So I had a chance. It just doesn't end up going in my favor. The V-Guards actually were a lot more troublesome than I had originally expected, just because of the nature of the deck only playing 1 Cram and 1 Sableye, so that ended up being a problem there. Round 2, I played against Evelyn. They were playing Gardevoir. The first game comes down to a nail biter where I take a pretty early lead. Evelyn has to continuously Iono me, and I end up whiffing for 2 turns, and then I eventually find the boss on the Gardevoir EX plus an energy to knock it out and win the game. Game 2 gets a little bit more in my favor, where Evelyn has a little bit of a slower start, and I get to pop off a little bit and do my thing. I get to 10 pretty quickly in the Lost Zone. My Sableye is a menace. Cram is a menace. I don't activate Counter Catcher or Reversal Energy early enough. Because I think Evelyn doesn't go into Mirage Step, so I have a chance to just kind of set up my board and do my thing. I think they opened Zacian as well, so I crammed into that pretty early, and then from there I just kept the pressure on. So I win that one against Guardy, 2-0. Then I go with Shane. Shane is playing Miraidon Flaffy. Shane opens Marie Pass game 1, and I end up getting the Cram Donk, so unfortunate for Shane. And then game 2, they get the hands up and running, but they miss a switch card going second, so they can't knock out my guy. I end up um, knocking out the active Raikou, I think. It was a Raikou or a Miraidon. I don't remember what was in the active. But I ended up 280 knocking that out. And then in response, they were able to boss up a Comfey and take a knockout there for 2 prizes. And then I'm able to just knock out the hands with V-Star, making it so there's no proc on the EXP shares. And at this point, my board has like 2 Tina V-Stars with 3 energy apiece because I just have been using like Jets and like putting energy with, like I use all my gates, like pretty much, besides one maybe. And I've like completely loaded up my board, and Shane has no win condition at this point, so he goes ahead and concedes. So I have a quick 2-0 here against Shane. Really unfortunate for him with the draws. Round 4, I go up against Matt Steele. Matt's playing Charizard. Game 1, he opens double Charmander pass. I win the flip up to go second. I get the turn 1 Cram knockout as well as Path in play. Matt gets a Path bump and benches a third no Path bump, sorry. Just benches another Charmander, attaches to the active and uses the first attack that discards the stadium. I have the response Path in hand. I knock out the active again with Cram. Now I'm down to 4 prize cards. I've Colressed, I think, both turns. So now I'm at like 6 in the loss zone pretty consistently, and I'm comfortable that if he goes into a Zard next turn, I can go to 10 and win, basically just knock it out immediately. He goes ahead and concedes game 1. Game 2 is a little bit more back and forth, where I end up counter-catching up his Pidgeot pretty early on, take that knockout there. Zard comes up, hits into me. I end up rock sanding us both to a pretty low number. I go Cram into the Zard at first, and if he has boss, he wins the game on the spot on my Tina on the bench. He whiffs the boss, but there's none other Zard set up, so I'm able to just go into the Tina and knock out the Zard for game. So I'm now 3-1. We have a 90-minute lunch break, which is pretty long. I also finished my round pretty early in the mat. Like I think the first game was relatively quick, and the second game was like pretty fast-paced. So now there's about 90 minutes of me sitting around, almost 2 hours actually. So I order some food, take a nap. My momentum feels a little bit killed, so it's a little bit rough for me to get back into that venue and like wake back up type of thing. And so I go up against Hunter the next round. Hunter playing Charizard again, Charizard, but he's got a V-Guard energy in there. The first game I basically win the game on 2 different occasions. One spot is where I go for the turn 2 Greninja play, where if I get the Greninja for 7, like Pop has 2 Charmanders, the game just ends instantly, I think, because that happens, and then he can do whatever he wants, but then I have Rod Gate, or I have infinite time to just play the game from there. I can go like down to like 3 prizes, or even like I can take 4 prizes, and then the game begins there for him, and then 1 V-Star wins me the game. But I end up like digging through quite a bit of cards actually, and I end up whiffing, which was pretty unfortunate. Like I already loaded up the Greninja with everything actually. Like I had the gates, I had all those pieces. I ended up whiffing on a switching effect, which was kind of frustrating. Like a Jet or anything, because I had Greninja effect, I had Colress. Like I was able to see a lot of cards, and my hand was pretty sizable too. I didn't get Ionoed or anything. Like I don't know. It was a little bit unfortunate. And then there's another moment where Hunter only had 1 Zard, no Charmander on bench, and if I was able to get the V-Star and use the V-Star on the active, I think I just win there, because the next turn I can just go Boss Pidgeot or Boss Rotom. Obviously, an Iono is in check, but getting an Iono plus 2 Charmanders down is a little bit of a tall order, and I did end up missing the V-Stars. Like, my V-Stars were on vacation that game, so that was pretty cool. And then game 2, I just didn't see Colress. I think, like, in my bottom 10, I had, like, 3 Colress, which was really unfortunate. But I still kept the game close, I think. And there was, like, one crucial turn where, like, if I had been able to get to 10, like, find a Colress that turn, get to 10, and V-Star is active, I would have still been in the game. And I ended up whiffing that turn, so that's where the game just like pretty much ended for me. Pretty volatile matchup, I think, but slightly Tina favored. Game 6 of going against Chris Berry. I don't remember too much about this match, but I do remember that the first game they bricked completely. I think it was like a Charmander, under Path again, pass type of thing, and I just went like knockout, and the game ended. And then game 2, I was able to get the turn 2 Greninja playoff on Chris, unfortunately for them, to knock out their 2 Charmanders. And then they put that Jirachi Charmander again, because now it's pretty confident that I can go to 10 and get the Sableye off. So if I Sableye a Charmander, regardless of what happens, I can win the game from there. But my hand was so good, I was able to Colress into Rod, into Gate again, onto Greninja, and I'm also like loading up a Tina on the bench while I'm doing this. So like I load up the Greninja again, and then I go 90-90, take out both the Jirachi and the Charmander again, which was pretty crazy. And at that point, the game is like actually over, because I have 2 prizes remaining. Chris has no Charmander on board, and yeah. So now I am 4-2. I go up against Jarek, who is playing Roaring Moon. And I played Roaring Moon in Charlotte, so I kind of know how the deck works pretty well. Both games pretty much just Jarek gets stuck under my tomb, and then if the tomb wasn't a problem, the path was a problem. And so Jarek was always like one attack short of winning the game, because the tomb just makes it so they can't accelerate a ton of energies onto the board with the Moltres, which puts me in a really good spot long term game wise, because there's always going to be like a few energy short. Energy switches are pretty much dead cards for them. They have to use more Pekko pretty efficiently early, to just kind of set up some knockouts here and there. And if I boss up one of them or Pekko too, the game is like kind of over. And it makes the turn 220 knockout into Tina, or turn 1 220 knockout into Tina much more difficult for Moon to do. So just unfortunate for Jarek that he had to get paired into me there. And then I go against Trevor, also playing Moon. Similar situation. Trevor also pretty much like can't do much into the tomb. I think one of the games I just put a path down and the game ended like near instantly. So that was pretty cool. And then I had one game where I basically just like cram spammed him because his start was so slow. And I won the game that way. So now I'm at 6-2. The question comes in: do I ID or do I play? And I had no intention of intentionally drawing. I think going into day 2 at 6-2-1, even if the tournament is like of this size, if you lose round 1, the first round of day 2, so round 10, you are no longer in contention for top 8. And for me, I am in a slump. Yes, I am trying to break back out into my performance, and maybe this was good for mental to just ID and get into day 2, see what I can make the most of it. But that's not how I am as a person. I want to change how I approach the game. I want to try to play to win every single time. I don't want to play to get top 4s. I don't want to play to get top 32. I don't want to play to just make day 2. Like, I want to win a regionals. Like, I really want to win one before I go out of this game. Don't think I'm retiring or anything soon. I'm not that old. I'm actually pretty old, but I'm not that old. So I go up against Christopher, who's playing the Tina Mirror. He ends up winning the flip, goes second. Game 1 is pretty much going as a pretty even flow. We're trading back and forth. And I think I have Christopher locked down when I get the Roxanne knockout with a V-Star on his active. And I have 2 V-Stars powered up. Christopher's down 3 gates. He has a V-Star on board. Pretty big deck. Still, I think like 30-ish cards. I'm feeling pretty confident that those aren't really going to be able to, like, he's not going to be able to find his last gate and like, you know, knock me out. He throws with the Tina V-Star confidently. He draws return, attaches, slams a Forest Sealstone, uses the Sealstone, gets the gate and 280s me for game. And I was like, what just happened, man? Like, I just got 4 Sealstone. He also, like, was able to get to, like, 10 earlier and Sableye me first because he had Vacuum in his deck, which I didn't expect either. Game 2, Christopher opens Sableye, attach pass, so I'm able to donk him, which was kind of a relief for me because Christopher was playing a little bit slower than other players. Nothing on his pace of play or anything, just it was taking a little bit more time between actions. I think we started game 2 with 20 minutes on the clock or something like that, and it was just literally just attached pass. I donked him, so I was like breathing a sigh of relief because I was pretty confident that we'd tie if I win game 2. So now we have plenty of time for game 3, and now we're barreling, like the game is being barreled at each other. I'm down to 1 prize at this point in the game. He's at 2, and he is pretty much just looking for a gate and a Rod Gate switch effect to knock out my V-Star with his V-Star. And he gets Rod Gate, powers up his bench, Tina, attaches for hand, Roxanne's us both. Now I'm down to nothing. He goes, draw his 6 cards, Flower Select, evolves to V-Star, doesn't have, I think we were 2-2 actually, sorry. No, we were 2-1. 2-1, yeah. Doesn't have a switching effect and just reaches his hand out. So I end up getting bailed out completely. I think he had switching effects left. He played a 3rd Rod as well. It's something I didn't expect. Just a lot of things that my brain wasn't computing at the end of the day. Like, my brain wasn't braining. It was hard. 7-2, we're advancing to day 2. I'm feeling pretty good. I won a lot of just like sorry about that. I won a lot of like landmine games just because of path. And then the couple other wins I had were like on very thin margins. So it was kind of a draining day. And the losses were on thin margins too. So like, it's not like the end of the world. So round 10, I get paired into Akira. She is playing Roaring Moon with catchers. The first game, she kind of pops off. Can't really do much about it. My start's slow. I pack it up. Game 2, she has a pretty slow start. I end up taking it. Game 3, I have a pretty... we're forcing each other to go first also. So game 3, I'm forced to go first. I have a pretty slow start. I do a deck search to my first VIP. Realize Cram, Sableye, and Atina are prized, which is really bad for me because I want to early Cram into the Roaring Moon, making it so it can't really use Frenzied Gouging on a V-Star without killing itself, or it can't proc Jelly the way it wants to. So I'm a little bit like, okay, this sucks. I can't even go use my one Tina that I got down on board to go Abyss Seeking turn 2, but maybe I'm like, maybe I have to do this, and then I have to rot it back and try to double Nest Ball or something. Like, I have to make a play somehow. Yakira ends up getting 5 energy on... I don't get Tomb down either. I think Tomb was prized also. Yakira ends up getting 5 energy on board on turn 1 with Sada, alongside a Catch Your Heads to knock out my Tina. And at that point, I think it was pretty much... That's like all she wrote kind of thing. I also pathed her, by the way, so it was like kind of insane like that happened. But that was basically that's all she wrote moment. I played out a couple more turns, but I could just never get anything established from there. Like, I put another Tina down, and she just bossed it immediately, and the game was just like actually over. So now I'm down to 7-3. I have to win out all 5 remaining rounds to make it to top 8. Let's do our best to get there, I tell myself. I go up against Tyler in round 11. We're playing Tina Mir. I actually don't remember exactly how this went. I'm pretty sure I won 2-0, but it was just because Tyler like whiffed like a little bit too much throughout the series. Like, I think Tyler just whiffed a ton, and that basically put me in a spot where I could take the series. In round 12, I go against Alex, who's playing Guardy, and our matches are really close. Game 1, he ends up taking a very, very close game. Game 2, I end up winning a very, very long, drawn-out game because my prizes are terrible, Alex's prizes are terrible. We're both just playing a game of chicken. I'm Abyss Seeking a ton. He's using like 3 refinements a turn, not finding what he needs, not bumping my path. We're just playing a big game of chicken. I end up basically taking it. Game 3, we're for sure going to go to time, and Alex and I decided we're going to have a conversation if we get to that point, because at this point, it doesn't benefit either of us to not make it to top 8, personally, or just put ourselves out of contention. So we end up in a position where I basically have, on my turn 1 of time, I go boss V-Star his Guardy EX. And so the flow of the game is now he has 5 prizes remaining. I have 3. I have 2 loaded Tinas, a Cram on board, and a Sableye with an energy. He has 2 Ralts in play, Arcana Gardevoir, and nothing else. So he has to find Candy Gardevoir that turn, or there's no attack he can even make. He doesn't, so he ends up conceding to me, because what would have come back and happened on the flip side is it comes back to my turn. Let's say even he has Jirachi on board. I just go into the Cram, or I go into the Sableye, do 12 damage counters to the active Cress, knock it out, go down to 2 prize cards, and I've already V-starred the Guardy, but it doesn't matter what comes into the active now because he still has 5 prizes. So I can always just, if he goes Guardy, kill my Tina, I just go Cram, kill that. And if he goes Guardy, kill my Tina again, I can just go Cram on a bench target or Sableye a bench target. Like, the game at this point is like pretty much over. So Alex is a huge homie and gives it to me at that point. So yeah, so I go to 9-3. My dream is alive. I get to keep playing. Round 13, I go up against Dean, playing his Dean box. It's just Lost Box Turbo stuff with a Dragonite, with Iron Hands, Roaring Moon, a little bit of a hybrid build with a lot of consistency, a lot of gas. Dean ends up taking game 1 barely, where I Roxanne him super low, and he's able to just like find a switching effect plus gate. There was like a really scary turn where he went, like I thought I had like the game kind of in the bag where he had Iron Hands and he just used Iron Hands. So I was gonna think I just knock out the hands and I can win off the back of that. He went bench Roaring Moon, attached to Roaring Moon, bench Dragonite, put a Seal Stone on it, and then I Iron Hands you, and I was like, well, what just happened to me? So my response was going to be knock out the Iron Hands, which is what I did. Roxanne, Path. Oh no, but then I had to counter catch. I was forced to counter catch with the Dragonite because then he just gets Seal Stone. He was at 2 prizes now, so he would get Seal Stone for gate for game because the Roaring Moon just wins the game, and then I end up losing by like a singular turn there. Game 2, it's another back and forth that we end up coming down to the penultimate turn where I go Roxanne on D and path him. He has nothing on the board. And from that nothing on board, he ends up producing, like he finds a bunch of switching effects and produces an Iron Hands with its last 2 gates, Escape Rope, Pokestop, basically sees his whole deck because he saw everything in the right sequence, and then takes 2 prizes and wins the game. I was just like, I can't even like be mad about, like, what do I do? Like, I can't do anything about that. So that was pretty unfortunate. And now my tournament's dead. I'm at 9-4. I'm now up into Simon, who is playing Tina as well. Simon and I have a pretty back and forth series. He wins game 1, I believe. I win game 2. And then game 3, he's having a pretty slow start, so I think I can actually capitalize on it. But I have like one pretty big whiff throughout the game. And then my last 3 prizes against Simon, so I think the biggest problem with Tina is like early game, you have a bunch of blind selectings that you have to do, and because you are so thin on margins of resources, if something important is prized that you have to lost zone, the game could end. So I have to actually end up lost zoning a psychic early on, and I have to use a rod somewhere in the middle of the game. And my last three prizes were psychic, psychic, rod, and so I took a cram knockout on his Tina like after hitting it a couple times. And like I think if I find a psychic there, I go back into a commanding position where I can go the following turn. I had boss on his Tina to knock it out because my Roxanne did stick for a turn. Um, but I prized like psychic, psychic, rod as my last three. So the game was actually like completely in my favor, where I could have just won with one more attack. And Simon's like prize a psychic rod, and I like flipped over my three, and he was like oof, and I was like yeah, it's one of those days. So could I have played better? Maybe. Maybe I didn't have to use rod early on. Maybe I didn't have to do what I did. But um, I think I was really unlucky. Happens. Round 15, I'm up against Greg. I think we're all locked out of, at this point, top 32. So winner gets 64, walking out with a couple packs, call it a day. I go up against Greg, who is playing Iron Valiant. Entei, not the best matchup for me. Not something I want to see. Game 1, he opens Radzard, and I end up just like winning the game. I just path, and then I was like Abyss Seeking like 3 times, and then I had like 10 of the lost zone. And Greg's board, like Greg had not found a switching card, and he had not found an answer to path. So Greg just said, "Let's go to game 2." Game 2, I basically had opened Comfy Tina. My Tina died turn 1. That was pretty crazy. That was actually like kind of crazy. Tina dies, and then I lost the game. And then game 3, I opened Spirit Tomb, and I lost. I got donked. Didn't get a turn. So them's the breaks. That's how it goes. 9-6. Not the best tournament performance overall. It's still very positive. But I think my experience with Tina is done. I had a lot of fun with the deck. Actually, no, I'm lying. I did not have a ton of fun with the deck. It actually made me think way more than I needed to. But I did prove that I can play it at the highest level, despite my own apprehension that maybe I'm not the best player in the world. Maybe I shouldn't play skill-based decks because my results haven't been good. Sometimes, even I deal with that mental strain of just like, I don't know if I can still do it sometimes. So all that being said, I would have played this tournament 100% of the time. I play this deck every single time for sure for this tournament for Knoxville, and we'll see what I come up with next. I mean, we have Vancouver left, and I'm going to Dortmund as well. So I have 2 more regionals in this format, but we have a couple new cards coming in. So I guess I'll see what that does for us, what that does for the meta, and hopefully it does something cool. Because if it doesn't, well, it's going to be a boring little bit. But thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. The road to Worlds continues. I did pick up 20 championship points this weekend, I believe. So best finish limit stuff. So it's not a total waste of time, but another limitless entry as well. See ya.